Come on, Daniel.
You have one job.
I'm curious. No semicolons.
Yeah. It assumes that once you hit enter, it's the end of the statement.
Okay.
Unless you turn multi-line on. So it's a bit more configurable.
Okay, so you don't need a semicolon.
Right.
You really started this.
Yeah. Now you'll appreciate this and know what's going on. You really had to know what was going on.
Name green.
What?
Not a big deal, but name is green and ID is white, so it's kind of
It's light
good
green.
variable names.
Because name is actually technically a keyword, I believe.
Is it smart enough to know if you take out cereal or something, it has to be the
Yeah. So primary says that, hey, this thing is
Right.
the primary key. The key is the data type. So it's an auto incrementing integer. It's an integer that's being set somehow. Serial's the auto incrementing part. So you need all three of those.
Is there a reason why primary is bold, serial is not?
Just different keywords, that's all. So now I want to add that foreign key. So if we look back on top of the whole spaghetti, we have director ID on movies. So I want to alter table. Alter table, movie list. Yeah. Movie list. I want to add a column. I'm going to call it director ID. It is a integer, and it references directors ID.
Real quick.
Yeah.
This movie list of the table that we have.
Correct.
What's the movies?
Movies is the
Oh,
database.
the
So this is
right.
who I am and what database I'm in. So I'm in the movies database.
Okay.
I just ran a query against movie list, and it worked. So now whenever I do my select star for movie list, we see that we now have director ID, which is null. So let's hook these up, right? I want to insert into director. Directors. I want to do name, values, Steve. And let's do Beth as well as Hannah. So now if I do my select star on directors, I got my 3 directors in there.
In the movies.
Nope. This is just in directors.
On directors, okay.
And that's
It's
it.
a new table.
Yep, it's a brand new table, whole other box. What screen?
No, yeah.
Okay.
So you
So Steve is 1, Beth 2, Hannah 3.
So above you created the table directors, and then you insert into directors the following values, and then you added the column director ID to movie list.
Yep.
So that's what's going to connect the two.
Yep. So now let's actually update our data now. So we want to do update movie list, set director ID equals. Now this has to be some ID of a director. Where, I forget what data we have now. YOLO.
Okay, so the third movie you added.
Yep, so whatever ID 3, the director is now Beth. So if you look at Independence Day, you see that the director ID is just stored as 2. So let's update 4 and 5 as well.
So it's still sorting by
Wait, it
year
just
release?
added direct-
It's
Why is sorting there?
it's not sorting by anything.
I remember you added 3 after.
That's the order we put them in at.
Yeah, that's just the order that we put them in on.
Since you updated it.
Mark,
Yes.
did I miss a step where we added direct ID to the table, or did we have that from the other one? I'm just gonna see.
It's the add column.
Yeah, you missed that step.
Okay, you did add a column? Okay.
So that's right here. Alter table, movie list, add column, director ID. It points to the ID on directors.
And that integer references is what's, it's the field that makes that connection to.
So I'm saying, look at my movie list table, add a column name, call it director ID, because that's meaningful to us. It is going to be a number, a integer, and it's going to reference the director's table, the column of ID.
Mike, I think the difference in boldness might help differentiate like different keywords, like when they're next to each other. So integer and references are different boldness because you want to show that they're separated.
Okay.
They're not. Those are the same keyword.
There's
Or are there any
Unified.
keywords that are 2 different words spaced out?
Like add column is that's one a part of one.
That's one
That's
keyword.
one thing.
In those 2 different words, it's one key thing.
I think I'm guessing.
That's your guess is as good as mine.
That
It-
sounds like,
To me, that bold is so minor, it doesn't even matter to me.
That looks like a function that you add a parameter to.
Yep.
Add column, add table, add whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
now we
yeah,
want to.
that ID and director, just change the name of the references. It would be referencing the director name. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually a good point. Good catch, Dan. We're saying that this is an ID. We're saying we're pointing to ID. You can actually do foreign keys on any field, not just IDs. You can also do joins on anything as well. They might be slow, non-performant, or maybe not best practice, but you can do it. You can do some kind of interesting things there. Jason?
I don't know like what tools we're gonna learn next. I'm sure there's a ton to come still on the way, but it seems like the more complicated these get, the more tables you're dealing with, you kind of have to try this out.
Oh yeah. Like there's usually, and this is called an ERD that we drew out here. This is how you typically draw a database.
A mock-up for it.
It's a wireframe for your database. It's a mock-up for your database. ERD.
Acronym.
Yes, entity relationship diagram.
You can use like Visio to do that.
Yeah, you can use Visio. I believe PG Admin might have a UI for it. I'm sure there's tools for it. Whenever we have Microsoft SQL, there's something called SQL Management Studio that has that built in as well. So, but yes, as it gets more and more complicated, it can be crazy. I'm sure you know of one that's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, looks like hieroglyphs until today.
Yeah. So, good so far. We haven't really done too much stuff. We just kind of like said, hey, we got a foreign key. Hey, let's give them some values. Hey, let's update some values. So if we head in here, like this is nice. Like we see the IDs of who does what. What if we want the director's name there?
Question. When you put in the foreign key, you only put it in one table. You don't, the pointing table doesn't have a foreign key unless there's there isn't a foreign key in the other one. Like there's a director foreign key in movies, but there's nothing equivalent on the other side.
Correct. Correct, because that's not how the relationship is.
Okay.
So now I want to actually like join these 2 tables together. So I'm going to be select star from movie list. I am going to say join directors on, and then I'm going to give it what columns that we're joining on. Because remember, we can join technically on any 2 columns inside of that. So we can do like, hey, join these tables where movie.name equals director.name. That doesn't make much sense because like why would, but you can. So you have to specify what you want to join on. Yep, so we're saying, hey, select star from movie list, join on the directors table, join directors, so pull in that table, and then match the rows where director ID, director.id equals movie list.director ID. That's that foreign key that we created.
So what does that look like?
So it's pulled in all of my movies where director ID is something. So it just pulled in the ones that have data, that have that connection. And it's put that row for Beth on every single movie.
Do you think it's best practice to put, instead of name, movie name and director name? Just so that when you join them together and you have two names that you can kind of,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
for like real world I'm saying,
Yeah. Well, in real world,
it's different.
we're not actually writing queries.
Oh,
So like they'll come back to us already in a brief format. But yes, you should always kind of look to see kind of name stuff. So let's kind of riff on that for a little bit. So this is nice. So this is direct. This is giving me everything. Let's say I don't want everything. I just want the movie name. I want the year released and the director's name.
Before, the director ID and the ID, so the ID, on the second ID up here.
Yep.
That's the one that automatically was issued for our director's database, that's the specified
Correct.
unique.
Yep. Whenever we made Beth, it gave her an ID of 2.
And is it always gonna match the
The
director ID and the
It should.
ID?
That's what the query said here. So yeah. So those two columns will always equal each other.
But in the director ID, where we added so in that step above when we said add director Steve, add director Beth, add
Yep.
director Hannah.
Yep.
Because they were 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
As we're building that director list, the ID and the director ID are always gonna be the same. Is it always gonna be the case, or would there be instances where it's going to be different?
So
It's only the same because of the referencing.
it's only the same because we're referencing it. I think I'm trying to find where the disconnect is. So we're saying we created our directors, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. And eventually how many we have. And then here we're saying, hey, update these movies. Update movie 3, 4, and 5 to have a director ID of 2.
So in reality, the ID for the list directors is going to be director ID.
Yes.
That's whether the database assigns one automatically or
Right.
that's going to be it's
So, but there's a lot of stuff. So let's kind of condense this a little bit. So I said I wanted 3 things, right? I wanted the name of the movie, name of the director, and the year released. And for funsies, let's do the IDs as well. Director ID and movie ID. So that's the 5 things that we want.
So you would have to do that referencing before you join.
Yep, so instead of select star, we want to do select ID, right? We have select name. We have, what else do we have? Year released. As well as director ID. As well as name.
No, it's only direct ID.
Which name are you referencing?
Exactly. So how would we do that? Because the problem here is, as V pointed out, is like we have ID and name.
Do you have director.name?
Yep. So it would be directors Direct.
No, you just have the semantic, like specifically name. Word name.
Then movie, not name.
You would have to specify both of them.
Yep.
You couldn't get away with one.
Nope. From movie list. And then join IntelliSense. This is the error that you get.
Mm.
It says, hey, reference ID is ambiguous. Even though we're selecting from movies, both directors and movie list both have an ID. So we have to call that out. So it's going to be.
I hate that you can't go straight up. You know, like when the query is 2 lines.
Yeah, right?
Click into anything.
You want to edit something on the second
sorry.
line. It's like, oh,
You got an error on
Goes next.
ID because there was a they had both had an ID.
They both had an ID, yep.
But when you did the previous query, you said, give me everything.
Yeah, so it knew, it just said everything. I wasn't saying just give me the ID.
Okay.
So it's saying here's everything. I don't care if there's dupes or anything like that, just here's everything. That is, hey, only give me the ID. And it's like, I got 2.
So, would it be good to call it movie ID next time we create a table?
So that's a huge debate. Some people go one way, some people go the other way.
That's the original one. We
Yeah,
know that, but yeah.
Because now, like, it's like, do we just do movie ID, right? Because that will fix all the naming problems. I mean, it's a bit redundant, isn't it? So now, if you access it over in C# when we get there on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to say, hey, jaws.movieid, or you know, we're going to have movie ID everywhere. But I like just saying ID because now I know that's the identifier for the table. You could if you wanted to, but you don't have to.
So wouldn't that be like a convention, like more of a convention thing where
Yeah.
the ID that is not related, that's considered the parent, like a parent
Yeah.
database, so it's, or the main?
Mm-hmm. Exactly,
That would be
and
included
that's
in this whole
and-
entity relationship diagram where you're mapping out.
correct. It's just your team convention. So maybe your team is like, well, you know what? The primary key of the table is always table name ID, just straight up. So if we have movie, we have movie ID, we have director ID, we have cast ID, and so forth. Like maybe that's just a convention. Or we'd be like, hey, you know what? If there's an ID for it, it's just called ID, and that's the key for the field.
So this is the demonstration of one to many, one being the movie list and many being directors.
One director has many movies. You have that backwards.
Okay, so the one is from the directors and the many.
So, because
Yeah.
Beth has many movies. She did Independence Day, Top Gun, and Forrest Gump. Beth is a great director.
It's a wide skill set.
Whichever table you see the duplicates is gonna be the many. Would that be a safe assumption?
And she's old.
So, so now Chris wants to rename these columns because now we have 2 names.
As.
I know, not anymore. We figured.
Movie name.
As
Come on, man.
Or title.
So this is just gonna change it in this table.
yeah, it's not
Does not
as
actually
In the
change.
display.
yeah, it's not as it's that's a different database.
Oh.
That Oracle thing.
That's an Oracle thing.
That's a Microsoft thing. Movie list does not exist.
Uh-oh.
Deleted the database.
Doesn't care at all about the
Oh,
we
capital
didn't ask
letters.
Jason while we were playing board game yesterday about his database story.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Take them on to lunch.
This data makes no care at all about capitalization.
Pushed everything.
Doesn't seem like
It
it.
really doesn't.
Get that. You added it
Mhm.
seven over.
Did you want to do it?
So what are you just gonna make the keywords capital? That's your plan. I'm trying to think of how I want to approach it.
Digital careful.
To at least kind of try to be uniform.
Like your whole SDG.
No, I always write this, I've been doing it like select, ass, in capital, yeah, but.
That should
I
be
mean, I
ass.
would write it nice, I'm OCD, so I will put my capital letters.
There you go.
It was ass.
It was ass. Yeah.
Ah, see, it's not
So
as
explain
archaic
the
as
change that whole thing there.
It was just a lowercase ass.
There's no strength, there's no.
Yeah, it's not a string.
Oh, it's not a string?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It can be uppercase. As Mike pointed out, this doesn't really care about capitalizations.
That's gonna be a problem.
What's your mouth? Shh.
So that's fun, right?
That's awesome.
So the underscore, did you call it before like that, underscore? I
Yeah.
remember that.
No, you just changed it. I changed it to as.
Oh, yeah,
It's fun to show that it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
think about capitalization, we're gonna look at the rest.
Yeah, capitalization is out the window for today.
But it's a good convention.
It's a very good convention. Like if I saw this in code, I'd be like, "What the hell are they doing?"
You saw it though.
But it works.
I made
Part of
it. I made it.
No,
Fat
but it
finger.
works.
Who has the fat fingers?
Yes.
Who just types and who doesn't care?
I have a really fat finger to get to the S and hit the shift button.
Yeah, like that one.
So basically,
Like
it's
Shrek kind of fingers.
Unless it, the referencing the table of the column you're
It's like a
talking about, if it's unique.
radius finger.
Yeah, you would think.
Say that again. So
Okay, so there's two tables,
yes,
and only the movie list has year released. So it's implicitly knowing that it's on that table because there isn't a year release on the directors.
it will look to find the first year released. So if year release was on director, it will look at directors. So as long as it's unique, you don't have to specify which table it's from.
Okay.
Jason?
This may have been covered yesterday, but if you just want to do, like in one line, just change the title of the column that you messed up, what would that be like, without having to do the entire, you have to do every column?
Say that again. So like
If you just want to change like the name of the column that you already made.
it would be you have to I believe you have to remove it and re-add it. I think there's a rename column command. I'm like 89% sure there's a
Wouldn't it be altered?
alter column actually changes the column. I don't think you want to change it, you just want to rename it.
Right.
Sound good so far? So let's create. Can I clear this? Haha. Oh, I thought I could clear for a second.
Control L.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I do it one at a time.
Oh, that was a different,
Oh, that wasn't PGCLI. That was P School.
Directors and movie lists. So let's break this down. Let's do genre. Yeah, let's do genre.
no, let's do cast.
Why don't we do cast? Damn. So create table actors people. It has, then we have an ID, right? That is a serial primary key. We have, they have a name, which is text. Yeah, we'll do text. We also have a preferred genre.
You can use text instead of bar chart.
Yeah, preferred genre. For now, we'll make that a text. What else is fun? That's not a string.
Would you do it role if you're
These are
doing
actors, people, right? These are age.
Yeah, whenever we get to casting, we'll rename it role.
Points, salary.
Points,
Date of birth.
salary, date of birth. Let's do a
Number of awards.
number of awards.
It's Emmys, right?
Yeah,
Has
Emmys. Emmys.
Is that plural of Emmys?
Has Emmys?
I think it would just be.
Has Emmy.
I think it's Y-S. Y''S maybe?
No.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's
It's called the Emmys. I think that's how it is.
It has the Emmys.
Yeah, but the show.
That's
The Emmys.
or awarded. I mean,
belong to the Emmys, it is.
So I want
Should
to
have just done is infected. That would have been better.
I think I told you what it does. That's nice.
has
Hey, Gavin, you would know
Hey.
this because you know PGCLI
Yes.
better than I do. I just created a table called people
Yes.
that has an ID, a name for genre, and has Emmys.
Yes.
How can I see that when it doesn't know? Just see the schema of it.
I believe it's /D, little d, and then it is
yes.
yeah,
Oh, there it is.
and then the space, the name of the table. No.
Nope.
And I think try DT and the name of the table, little t.
Nope.
It's one of the D's.
It's one of the D's.
/D.
S, is that an S?
Does that have to be capital?
There it is.
Yeah.
D people.
So it's just /D and then the table itself. You see, it creates us, the table. We have a couple of types. You notice how on the primary key of the ID, it has all those extra regulations on it. Saying it can't be null, so it's required. It is the default, and it's the next value of the sequence. So it's the auto-incrementing magic that's going on.
The, it can't be null, is that what you would use in like a required field?
So if name was required or has Emmys was required, whenever we create it, would say, hey, this column can't be null. And that way, if we try to insert without a piece of information, it'll fail.
Oh, so that's like just like the required thing on a form.
Yes. So somewhere on a form that has a required field, there's a database table that has that exact same field that is not null.
What's the double colon mean?
That's just some SQL syntax. I actually don't know. That's just the whole thing is saying, hey, give me the next value of the people ID sequence.
It's part of the class.
That's getting into the inner workings of Postgres that I am not too familiar with.
So that's not SQL, that's Postgres.
Yeah. That's how Postgres defines the auto-incrementing primary key. For in Microsoft SQL, it's defined a bit differently, but it does the exact same results.
Last thing, text automatically defaults bar to what? Well, how many characters?
It is a auto-spanning incrementing field.
Oh,
Is there a way?
dynamic.
Yeah.
Is there a way you can label kind of your tables so that you can tell?
Like at the top it says people. It's the people at the top.
Some kind of tag.
That's where ERDs come into play. That's where good naming conventions come into play.
Oh, I see.
So what's it doing?
It's basically to distinguish it from user-defined functions.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of a protection, internal protection.
Okay, cool. Today I learned. So, we have our table. So I'm going to clear this up now. Now I want to create that middle table called castings, right? Or roles is what we're going to call it, I think. So create table, roles. Now this doesn't have a primary key, right? But it has foreign keys. So we have movie ID, which is a integer that references movie list the ID there. It also has something called people ID, which is also an integer. References.
Is this the same as object where you can do movie list ID or movie list parentheses ID?
Parentheses ID, not ID.
Always.
That's it, right? Movie ID and cast ID. Foreign keys, yep. Those create our tables, list them out. Here we are. So let's create some people really fast. Insert into people. Name, Azamis, for genre, values. Tom Cruise. Does he have Emmys?
No.
Let's
I'm
give him.
good.
Wow, are you sure?
I think we should give him an Emmy. He deserves an Emmy.
Or jumping on top of the couch.
I think it means it's TV.
Man, someone's an Oprah fan.
So we
You
have
get a cover, you get a cover.
Jason Statham, right?
Jason Statham.
who else do we have? We have Will Smith.
He does not have any Emmys. Is an Academy Awards. Academy of Science
He
Fiction.
did get an Oscar, I think.
British Academy of Film.
We just got an Oscar awarded.
Donatello Awards.
Nope.
Empire Awards. Golden Globe. Golden Raspberry. Tasty Pudding. Theatrical Awards.
What's an actress?
Mila Kunis.
Please. Sorry, I got a little excited.
Is that spelled right?
No.
Mile Kunis?
I can't
Oh.
say it.
Close.
S at the end.
Mila.
Mila.
Yes.
S. No,
No.
you got it.
No, it is
Mila.
Kunis.
Yeah. Yep.
Miles Queen.
And then we gotta put actually let's forget about that dude. Ashton Kutcher.
We don't need him.
We don't need it.
Nope, we don't. We're good. We have 3 people. If we do our select star from people,
I put Kelsey
just to kind of see what's here.
Databases are scary because if you type in one wrong thing, you could do something really wrong with your database.
You could. That's
we
why
found a rollback thing yesterday.
there's a rollback thing internally.
So is DT opening it in a different window?
No, it's replacing the screen.
Okay.
And to get out of it, you just hit Q.
It's like terrifying sometimes.
Isn't it like,
You make a wrong move in the terminal.
it's like, oh no, it's not. Yeah.
That's for sure.
So,
Emacs.
Emacs mode,
No, you don't want that.
Vim mode.
Ooh.
PI mode.
Yeah, we're gonna walk away from that. So now I want to insert stuff into my casting table. So I got 1, 2, 3 over there.
So you know when you show the table and it appears in that new window,
Yeah.
could you do an insert and edit within there because it's in V mode?
I like Emacs mode. I've never used Vim mode, VI mode.
Well, it's just when it goes to the table, it has the little what do they call the symbol? That's like a curve. It looks like it goes into a V window.
Nope, you cannot.
Okay.
No.
All right, so we have our movie list, which is I need to start looking at the data. 1 through 6, and we have 3. So you notice how we have nothing there. So let's do casting tables. We have our roles. So we want to insert into role. Roles. It's a movie ID, right? And people ID. Values. Add some movies here. Kind of see what happens. Yeah. Error.
People ID.
You don't have a fourth person.
Yeah, so this is why we use foreign keys, proper foreign keys. That's why we define it whenever we add the column. Because this is giving us a little bit of checking. I tried to add person number 4. We don't have person number 4. We only have 3 people. So it's saying, hey, wait a minute. You know, you told me that this column was a foreign key to the people table. We don't have 4 people. This ID doesn't exist. So I was just going to say, stop. Rethink about your life.
You could do some level of programming here to check for that.
Yeah, you can put logic on top of that. But if my database is going to fail whenever I try to put in bad data, like, that's awesome.
Oh no.
So like that's one thing that I don't want to rely on my code for. If I would have put it, if I can put that restrictions onto my database, I'm going to. Because when it all comes down to it, everything's talking to the same database. Remember, the web is inherently it's a concurrent system, so we don't know like what's getting executed when, but it's all talking to the same database. So if we can put those rules on the database, that makes our code around it a bit more valid and secure.
Right, but I guess I was thinking they create scripts, SQL scripts, so as a way of bulletproofing your script to put some logic in there so that the script doesn't bomb. The same way you would do a try-catch type of.
Yes, there are stuff like that.
Okay.
So we have some stuff inside of our movies table, so let's check that out. Select star from roles. Hey. So 2, 4, and 5, and 1. Oh, sweet. All right. So we're gonna clear this out a little bit. What is that actually doing? Control L.
Honestly, I control L on PSQL, whatever.
Yeah.
It just cleared both things. I don't know why it's doing that.
On a browser because it happens.
It does. I love that.
Are you doing control L or command L? Sorry.
Command L.
Oh, okay. Yeah, command L is good.
I had a brief like, what kind of moment? So I'm going to select star from movie list. Right? I want to bring in the cast for each movie. So I'm going to have to do join on roles, where movie ID, and then join cast, call it people, right? People on people ID equals roles dot per people ID.
Okay, before you hit enter.
Yeah, I'm making sure I'm doing that right. Turn on multi-mold. Let me get this in a bit prettier format here. Yeah, I turned on a multi-line mode. Yeah. So I'm saying select star from movie list, join roles on movie ID. Yep, where ID equals movie ID. And I'm saying join on people, where people ID equals roles.people ID. So you good so far?
Why couldn't you have done select all from people, join roles on roles, da-da-da?
I could go the other way too.
You could do the other way.
Yep.
But roles has to be in the middle?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. So like visually it's in the middle as well.
Yeah.
Connecting them.
Yep. It does not like to wrap apparently.
I think
So let's only select a few things here. Let's do
Tom Cruise and Will Smith have now been in the same movie.
yes. What were they in? They were in
Mission Impossible.
yes. That cameo of Will Smith
Yeah.
flying the jet. So let's
Director ID, that's like, so we gotta be.
yeah, we don't need director ID anymore, right? So let's not select that. So let's do. So I want to select movie list.id. I want to select movie list.name. I want to select people.name. I want to select.
Is that the IntelliSense parameter you can select?
Yeah. So I'm going to do preferred genre, and I'm going to do movie list. Movie list dot is showing. So it's taking those two data sets and giving me what is in both of them. So you see how Mission Impossible is in there a few times, so is Will Smith, and that's okay. That's fine. So let's do a little bit something. Let's do a little bit of fun with this. Are we happy so far? Feeling okay? Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. I'll select the movies that don't start or end with vowels.
Is the on always going to be an equals?
Yes.
So it's never going to be greater than or less than.
Right. I think it can be.
But for now, it's just use equals. If
Well, it's because it's, well, never mind.
So it works. I don't know if it's useful, but it works.
Well, you can,
So I
if you had the gross of the movie, you can say, what movies did an actor was in that grossed more than X amount of money.
well that's fine, but this is joining.
Yeah.
So we're joining it where we're saying where role's movie ID is greater than movie list ID. Yeah, so it's like it works. It technically works. It gives us a much different result here now.
And it's duplicates.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why you would do it,
But you can.
but you can. Which is it's just pretty awesome. I like systems where it allows you to do stupid stuff like that, because at some point you might need to do something very clever with that, which may or may not be a bad thing. So we're feeling pretty good. We talked about how to model data a little bit, how to do our many-to-manys, how to kind of say what entity inside of our system. We talked about joins. We can even filter this join down a little bit. So where people prefer genre. The IntelliSense is off of what Visual Studio Code is, so it breaks the brain a little bit. Equals comedy, rom-com. So we can even filter down the results even more using our where clause, and of course we can do, order by movie list.name, and we can do, and we can do where movie list is showing equals true.
You can have two wheres.
Yep. That should be an and. curse this IntelliSense. Almost wish I didn't have it. But you can see that. Hey, Mission Impossible showing, starring Will Smith.
And it's everything on there is false.
I feel like the hardest part about this is the getting the data.
The whole joining stuff, like
No.
oh,
Literally
like,
Where for it?
like actually like creating.
Inserting data into the database.
That's the tedious part. Yes.
Like finding the data.
Yep.
Oh, okay, getting the data from out there.
Yeah, like actually like inputting the data kind of thing.
Not to throw this into more difficult land, but this is a full join, right?
This is a join for many to many.
So we can skip it, but if you want, but what's the difference? What's a left join or right join?
So this is doing what's called an inner join technically. So if we think about our so much stuff here. So if you think about our two separate tables in like a Venn diagram kind of thing, where we have one table that is over here and one table that is over here, we're doing an inner join, which is everything that is
Common to both.
everything that's in here.
So that would be the roles.
No, this is
The idea.
taking my two data sets, so my directors. So if we go back yonder, F3, select star from movie list, join directors. So this right here, so this isn't returning all of our movies.
Right.
It's only returning the movies that have a director ID. So it's only returning the stuff inside of here. Right? That's our inner join. If we wanted to do an outer join,
It's not.
so we're going to do our left join first. We're going to do left, then right, and then an outer join. So a left join will give me everything over here. That is in both my movies as well as in there. You notice now we have all of our movies, and even the ones that have a director ID of gone. Just their values are nothing because they don't exist.
Isn't that like just not joining at all?
But I'm pulling in extra data.
Oh, okay.
So it's everything on the left and anything on the right that may exist.
Mm-hmm.
Not the middle though,
Yes, it's everything that's on the left side and that's in the middle.
or in the middle.
So a left join will return us the full set of what's on the left, plus the data that actually ties to stuff in there.
And so just to be clear, the
Yeah.
left side is the movie list, the
Yes.
right side is the directors.
Correct. So if we had a director that didn't have anything, I don't think we do.
Not the rights of the people.
No, in this example, it's director.
That's you. We did two different.
Yeah.
Because we did a one to many and we did a many to many.
So now we want to. So if we want to do the other thing, a right join will give us the opposite of that. It'll give us all the.
Directors.
It'll give us all the directors that have. As soon as my notification goes away, it'll give us all the directors, even if the director itself doesn't have any movies. So the the right join on the second table is the same as the left join on the first table.
And you can only join two tables. You couldn't do like multiple tables, like left, this, and
Yeah. So like we could take our.
cast and people and movies.
So we can expand this as much as we want.
Okay.
It's just our Venn diagram gets a bit more complicated. And our query could potentially be slower.
Then there's an outer join.
Outer join.
Is that see that, it should be 3, it's not anymore left or right, it should be a center, outer, or whatever.
Yeah, inner, outer, and
Inner, outer.
I spell outer right. Can you not do an outer join?
It should be in IntelliSense, I think it's in red, outer.
Look it up.
Wait, what's the-
Oh,
Full outer joint?
yep.
So it's full inner is default.
Yeah, full inner. So it's by default just giving us what's here. Full outer will give us everything from both tables. As you can see here, we have movies that don't have directors. So Frozen, Mission Impossible, and Jerry Maguire. They don't have directors. They're still in our results. We have movies that have directors. ID4, Top Gun, Forrest Gump. We also get all of our directors that don't have movies. To me, Stephen Hannah. So yeah, you can do some pretty interesting things with these and pull in results. Great question, B. I'm surprised no one mentioned how it trimmed that stuff down. But here we have. So for this weekend, for your homework, like I said, your homework is threefold. All right. So the first one is to add some tables to your employee database. I'll tell you which ones in the homework. It'll be like company, department, a few other things as well. And write a few queries against that. The next thing you're going to be doing is start working on the schema for your final project. Your final project has to deal with the data, right? That's going to be stored in a database somewhere. Whether they're posts, comments, LinkedIn people, or weather stations or something like that. Like you're going to be storing some sort of data inside your system. Start thinking about the database schema and create for me a ERD for it as well. And then the third task this weekend for your homework is to work on your HTML for your final project. So actually start creating that, which should look a lot like your markups.
The ERD is what you had on the other side.
Yep. So ERD, just a quick review, what tables you have, what columns those tables have, what data types they are, as well as their relationships.
This is a skeleton.
Yes. Because now we know the skeleton of what the front end looks like. We're developing the skeleton of what the back of what the database looks like. So, feeling good? Cool deal. Homework will be up by the end of lunch.
There's a